Great deal of positive response from the passengers as they're going through and thanking us for our presence and being there and providing the security and the safety for them.
Major Scott Flannery of Virginia National Guard at Reagan National Airport. It's a busy day for you there, Major, and thank you very much for taking the time to explain why your troops are there and what they're doing. We appreciate it. Well, when we come back, anti-aircraft fire over the Afghan capital of Kabul. We'll have the latest on that and other developments in Central Asia as America on Alert continues.
You're watching MSNBC. In this time of need, the American Red Cross is profoundly grateful for your generous outpouring of support. Thanks to your contributions, the Red Cross is providing life-saving assistance, including food, shelter, grief counseling, and precious blood. We still need your help. Please call 1-800-HELP-NOW to make a financial contribution to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. Together, we can save a life. This message has been brought to you by New York Life.
When they need to get it fast, count on express mail from the U.S. Postal Service. The United States Postal Service is everywhere, so you can be anywhere. Presenting the all-new Mercury Mountaineer with a brilliant third-row seat. Fold it down and it disappears, yielding a cavernous amount of cargo space. Raise it and 7 adults can sit comfortably for the most third-row leg and headroom in its class. The Mercury Mountaineer. Ingenuity built cities. Now it brings you an SUV. Mountaineer with standard third-row seats starts under $30,000. Test drive one at your local Mercury dealer today.
Hello, Mrs. Lindsay. William?
Hello, Stephen.
You're not by any chance computer shopping, are you?
Mm-hmm. If I can get some help.
Well, right now, you can get a complete Dell system with an Intel Pentium 4 processor, which is so nice, for only $8.99.
Really?
She's intrigued. Excellent. Because right now, you can get free shipping. Unbelievable. And as far as service and support, Dell's won more awards than any other PC company in the last 5 years. Just call or go online. Tell them what you want, and right to your front door comes America's favorite PC.
Thanks, Stephen.
Now you can get a Dell desktop with an Intel Pentium 4 processor, which delivers performance where you need it most. And 6 months of DellNet by MSN Internet access for just $8.99. Call or go online today, and shipping is free. There's great deals on notebooks, too.
Dude, you're getting a Dell.
Easy to buy, easy to own, easy as Dell.
The American flag. It symbolizes freedom and justice for all mankind. Throughout the land, millions of Americans are proudly displaying the flag. Introducing the American Freedom Collection. A set of 2 quick display flags, 1 Old Glory flag and the exclusive God Bless America flag. Each flag is made of weatherproof, fade-resistant material. They attach to your car window in seconds. Just slide the slot in the window. It's that easy. It looks great on mailboxes, bikes, trucks, even inside your home. The American Freedom Collection also includes 4 reusable peel-in-place flags. There's no glue. Just peel off the flag and it'll cling to any smooth surface. Call now and receive your personal American Freedom pin. You get everything. The Old Glory flag, the God Bless America flag, the peel-in-place flags, and flag pin. The entire American Freedom Collection for just $14.99. Call now.
To order your American Freedom Collection for only $14.99 plus shipping, have your credit card or checkbook ready and call 1-800-998-8605.
In the skies above Kabul, the Afghan capital, you see a trail of smoke that appears to have come from a high-flying plane, and Taliban anti-aircraft guns opened fire with high intensity this Saturday at that plane. Al Jazeera Arab television out of Qatar reporting it is an unmanned surveillance plane. The Pentagon and the White House are not confirming, but a good deal of activity in the Afghan capital. We're following, and in fact, we're going to have a live report from northern Afghanistan from NBC's Dana Lewis, one of the very few correspondents actually inside the boundaries of Afghanistan. Our global coverage continues after this with a live report. We'll be right back.
National Geographic and MSNBC take you to one of the Earth's most dangerous places.
Across the river to what has been no man's land for quite a long time.
Afghanistan. Barren. Remote. Hostile.
If you go on foot, they'll shoot you. The Taliban will shoot you.
Cross the border into the Forbidden Zone, where time has stood still for thousands of years, and waging war has become a way of life. As the U.S. military buildup in the region continues, see firsthand why Afghanistan may be the toughest battlefield in the world. National Geographic Explorer, 16 years experience, 109 Emmys. Now right here, only on MSNBC, premiering Sunday night at 8.
In this time of need, the American Red Cross is profoundly grateful for your generous outpouring of support. Thanks to your contributions, the Red Cross is providing life-saving assistance, including food, shelter, grief counseling, and precious blood. We still need your help. Please call 1-800-HELP-NOW to make a financial contribution to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. Together, we can save a life. This message has been brought to you by New York Life.
Are you getting the best possible execution of your online trade? Unlike many other online brokers, Datex's proprietary technology routes your order automatically in an effort to get you the best available price. And it does it so quickly that if your online order is not executed within 60 seconds, the commission is waived. We also have Streamer with free streaming quotes so you can make investment decisions in real time. We give you free NASDAQ Level 2 quotes. And when you trade options, you'll find easy-to-use trading screens and one of the lowest commissions around. In fact, with Datex, any online equity trade is just $9.99. You can even trade before and after market hours.
Fund your account and get 10 free online equity trades. To apply, call toll-free 1-877-72-DATEC or visit our special website.
Datex Online. Built to trade.
Half past the hour on a Saturday morning, we are following some breaking news out of the Afghan capital of Kabul. Here's the very latest. Anti-aircraft batteries by the Taliban opening fire on at least one plane, maybe two, flying high over Kabul this morning. No word yet on the origin or type of the aircraft, but Al Jazeera television is reporting it was, quote, a remote-controlled plane. More on that in just a moment with a live report. In the meantime, roughly 1,000 U.S. troops have begun arriving in Uzbekistan, a country of major strategic importance because it borders Afghanistan at the north. The Uzbek president has allowed the U.S.-led coalition limited use of one of the country's air bases there. And the U.S. could soon begin airdropping food and other aid to Afghanistan's millions of refugees. Those flights will reportedly be escorted by U.S. fighters. And now for more on the reports that Taliban anti-aircraft guns opened fire over the Afghan capital of Kabul. Let's turn now to NBC's Dana Lewis, who's been traveling with the Taliban opposition, the Northern Alliance. He joins us more from the northern part of Afghanistan. Dana, good day to you. What are you hearing there, if anything at all, about what happened over Kabul?
No independent confirmation here, Greg. The Northern Alliance doesn't know anything about it, and you have to keep in mind that we're about 120 miles north of Kabul, but I can tell you that it is conceivably possible that if someone, the United States in particular, was going to be putting up a spotting plane, today would be the day to do it, because the last few days have been very dusty. There was a dust storm here, visibility extremely poor, and as you can see over my shoulder, the skies have cleared here today, so they would be able to get a picture. Now, no one has identified these planes, not even the Taliban, who ordered those anti-aircraft guns to open fire. The Defense Ministry in Kabul said that indeed they were firing at an aircraft. They had been firing anti-aircraft weapons the last few days in each of those instances, they said they were just testing the guns, but today they said it was the real thing, that they claimed that they were targets above. Many people rushed out into the street. There was more than just one gun firing. There was a thunderous firing around the city, and there are reports that they also fired a surface-to-air missile but didn't hit anything. Initial reports suggested 2 aircraft may have been above the city, one high-flying aircraft that passed very quickly out of view, and then a more slow-flying aircraft that circled the city, and that was the one that came under fire, or at least they were trying to fire upon, Greg, as it circled around the city, and then it disappeared out of view a short time later. The guns had fired for a few minutes and then stopped.
Something caught my attention that you said they may have fired, there are reports they may have fired a surface-to-air missile. Would that be one of the surface-to-air missiles that the U.S. government supplied in their long war against the Soviets?
It could indeed, because that's really what the Mujahideen had against the Soviets, were surface-to-air Stinger, I believe, missiles that were supplied by the CIA to fighters that were based in Pakistan, that would then go across the border and take down and play havoc with Russian helicopters, the only thing that could get into the mountains and take on the Mujahideen, and then suddenly they were threatened by these shoulder-launched surface-to-air missiles. You'd have to wonder today what a spotting plane was doing over Kabul, if indeed it was over there. And you could play a bit of a guessing game here, Greg. First of all, they have a real-time picture, so they would be able to send back real-time photographs of exactly what is on the ground there. And they may, in some instances, be used, in fact, to draw fire, because then whoever has sent it up there, whether it's the Brits or the U.S. Air Force or Army, would then be able to see exactly where those gun positions were. And we know that in past experience in the Gulf War, that certainly they would be sent up ahead of time, and in some instances they were precursors to airstrikes that would follow later on in the evening. So the timing of this is certainly significant, especially as President George Bush said in his radio address today, that time is running out for the Taliban to turn over Osama bin Laden. And of course, there is a real sense here that airstrikes could happen at any time.
Yeah, I think you're right. Our military analysts tell us one of the best ways to target anti-aircraft gunfire in installations is to send out a decoy, and once they fire, we know where they are. But let me ask the same question I posed to Keith Miller in Islamabad. The aircraft apparently was not hit, if it was, in fact, an aircraft. So given the fact that the equipment there is fairly antiquated, how good are they with their anti-aircraft fire and, in fact, their surface-to-air missiles?
Well, I would give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to anti-aircraft fire. Many of them were trained by the Russians. The Russians have some good systems. They are older, certainly the ones on the ground here, but they have a lot of training and a lot of experience. And don't forget that these were designed in the event of a European war that would involve U.S. or British fighters or French fighters, or Western aircraft in essence. So they would have had initially, some time ago, some very good training on those systems. So I wouldn't underestimate them from that standpoint. But I mean, I've been in the field here, and essentially the same weapons are held by the Taliban that are held by the Northern Alliance, and it really is like walking through a museum. I mean, you see T-55 tanks that are 40 to 50 years old. A lot of this stuff doesn't seem like it's serviced very well. Yesterday, we were at a exercise by the Northern Alliance, and they were showing us some of their weapons, and I looked up at the armored personnel carrier, and it had a big red rocket on the top, and I said to the guy, you know, what is that? I mean, what does it do? And before the camera was on, he said, well, it really doesn't do anything. It doesn't work. It's just for show. And in fact, it was tied on with string. And then as soon as we turned the camera on, he said, well, this is a tank killer, and it can take out a tank. So a lot of this is old, and they know how to fight here, but they don't have very good equipment when it comes to dealing with what we would consider a threat to a Western Air Force.
And of course, our own surface-to-air missile firing at one of our own planes, if indeed that is what happens, the irony there is not lost on anybody. Dana Lewis, live in northern Afghanistan. Thanks very much for that report. Let's talk about Pakistan. Thousands have taken to the streets in the town of Peshawar, protesting yesterday's visit by the British Prime Minister Tony Blair to the capital. The demonstrators rallied against Britain and the United States' plans to oust Afghanistan's ruling Taliban. They chanted anti-American and anti-British slogans and ripped apart an effigy of Blair. During Blair's meeting with Pakistan's President Pervez Musharraf, he started to talk about the possible political landscape of Afghanistan's government after the Taliban, assuming the Taliban falls. NBC's Kiko Etasaka joins us now live in London to talk a little bit more about that. Kiko, good day to you.
Good morning, Greg. Prime Minister Tony Blair is being called the chief ambassador for the United States. He's traveled to 3 countries in 3 days, Russia, Pakistan, and India, all in an effort to drum up support for the alliance. Blair's negotiations with Pakistan's President Pervez Musharraf were particularly important. Musharraf and Blair were both very positive after their meetings. Why don't we listen to some of the things they had to say?
The 11th of September has changed the world. Nations make their choices as to whether they will help in the fight against international terrorism or stand aside. I believe that Pakistan has made the right choice. The result will be a significant and lasting strengthening of the outside world's relations with Pakistan.
I personally also, and my government feels, that there is evidence which is leading to an association between this terrorist act and Osama bin Laden. However, we are not here standing in judgment on the details.
In many ways, Prime Minister Blair is in a unique strategic position. The key is that he is not American and therefore able to talk about sensitive issues with countries that might feel awkward about having direct negotiations with the United States. Greg?
Kiko, what is the British and the European reaction to the PM, the Prime Minister's very close involvement with all of this, especially on the heels of his trip to Pakistan and then India?
Well, overall, I think everybody is very supportive of what Prime Minister Blair is doing. But there is some concern here domestically in England that Blair is ignoring domestic issues. And I do think that, especially in the newspapers, we're beginning to see some editorials saying that he should come back and talk to the people here about what's going on. Greg?
All right, Kiko Etasaka in London. Thanks very much. We appreciate it. And when our coverage continues, a deadly case of anthrax in the state of Florida causing anxiety nationwide. How much do you really know about that disease? We're going to get the facts from an expert coming up next. Don't go away.
NBC Sunday. To catch the perfect criminal, you have to become one. He's got to pay. Last week's UC Undercover was a roller coaster ride. This week, we're taking off the brakes.
This guy's gonna kill him.
And one of the team will pay with their life. All new UC Undercover, NBC Sunday at 10/9 Central.
Hi, I'm Jan Muller, and you've seen me demonstrating space bags on TV for over 7 years, with over 30 million space bags sold worldwide. Why? Because space bags are guaranteed to turn this closet into this closet. Simply pack your items into space bag and seal the zipper with our brand new Sure Zip sealer. Then take any vacuum with a hose and just vacuum out the air. Your items are vacuum sealed and safe. You can store space bags in the basement, in the garage, or under the bed. Since space bags are airtight and waterproof, no matter where you store them, no mildew, moth holes, or spiders. Everything comes right back to life. That's why Good Housekeeping calls space bags a smart solution for cramped closets and a better value than plastic bins. Our jumbo bag holds 2 comforters and 4 pillows. And our large bag holds up to 12 sweaters. Space bags are available at over 6,000 retail stores nationwide. But I've put together a special set that you can only get from me. You'll get 1 jumbo space bag and 2 large space bags for only $19.95. Plus, I'll send you free the large travel space bag so you can pack more in your suitcase. Just squeeze out the air. Call in the next 20 minutes and I'll also include a free duffel-size sport bag, ideal for recreation, outdoor sports, or gym bag. Space bags have sold for as much as $40 on TV. With my special offer, you pay only $19.95. Plus, get the sport and travel bags absolutely free. That's a total of 5 space bags. I guarantee you'll be satisfied or I'll refund your money. But you have to call now. Here's how to order.
Call now to get Jay's amazing TV offer from Space Bag. Remember, for only $19.95, you get a total of 5 space bags, 1 jumbo, 2 large, 1 travel, and 1 sport bag for the incredible price of $19.95. This offer won't last. Call 1-800-203-5858. Call now.
Welcome back. 42 minutes past the hour. Investigators say they have no answers about how a Florida man caught a rare form of anthrax. The 63-year-old man died yesterday, but there is no evidence that he was a victim of terrorism. NBC's Robert Bazell has details.
When Florida health officials discovered that the man who lived in this house had anthrax, they set off an unprecedented investigation. Reports have named the man as 63-year-old Bob Stevens, a photographer.
Right now, we believe this is a simple, isolated case, probably a naturally acquired infection, and we're just doing everything we can to assure the public that that is indeed the case.
Everything includes assembling a team of more than 50 experts from the state, from the Federal Centers for Disease Control, and from the FBI.
As of today, we deployed many teams, teams of 5 and 6, to go and trace back those areas that we've identified as areas where this gentleman had been located and had worked, had socialized, had eaten at.
Anthrax is one of the world's deadliest germs. A fraction of an ounce could kill thousands of people. Because the bacteria can exist in an almost indestructible form called spores, anthrax has long been considered a prime bioterrorist threat. Saddam Hussein loaded Scud missiles with anthrax before the Gulf War, but never fired them. But anthrax does occur naturally in animals, and very rarely in people.
What again gives us reason to feel confident that this is a single, isolated case, is that this was basically someone just like all of us in this room, a normal person, had normal daily activities.
But because the entire nation is in such a state of alert, the investigators are taking this very seriously. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
Even though officials say the man's death is an isolated incident, it does raise concerns regarding the possibility of a biological attack. So joining me now from Washington, Rick Weiss, who is the national science reporter for the Washington Post. Rick, good Saturday morning to you. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Greg.
Let's begin at the beginning with the fundamentals. What is anthrax? What are the symptoms?
It's a bacterial disease, and symptoms differ depending on how you get it. Most commonly, it's acquired from touching infected animal hides or working with wool or hair from animals that have been infected. In that case, it affects your skin, and it's only deadly in maybe 20% of the people who get it. But rarely, it can be gotten into your lungs, and you get a version called inhalation anthrax. Right. That's an extremely deadly version. It kills something like 80% of the people who get it. You end up starting off with a fever, a cough. Things progress very quickly. It gets into your blood and your spinal fluid, and you can be dead within 2 or 3 days after symptoms show up.
You know, Rick, he had inhalation anthrax. Could he have gotten that from drinking stream water, say up in North Carolina? We know he was an avid outdoorsman, but if he drank it from water, wouldn't that have given him the gastrointestinal form of it, not the inhalation form? That's probably right. There are 3 forms, the skin form, the gastrointestinal form, and the inhalation form. And if he had gotten it from consuming water or food, it would have very different symptoms. He's clearly had a case of inhalation anthrax. But there are non-terrorist plausible explanations for how you could get that. One of the ones that investigators told me yesterday they're looking into is whether bone meal used in gardening might have been infected with anthrax spores, and in the process of planting some bulbs or doing some gardening with this very fine powdered bone meal, some might have gotten into the air and into his lungs. Well, you know, anthrax is extremely rare, as you know, and in fact the statistics sort of underscore how difficult it is to get it. Only 18 cases have been reported since the 1900s. I mean, the last reported case was in the late 1978. So, indeed, it is extraordinarily difficult to get anthrax, correct? It's just very unusual, and it's a very weird coincidence that this case has happened now. Now, one possibility, of course, is that there have been a few more cases than people have thought since 1900, but they've been missed or misdiagnosed. Mm-hmm. This guy was originally diagnosed as having meningitis until further testing was done. Health departments are really on the alert right now since September 11th to watch out for biological warfare agents, and it's possible that with the increased vigilance we're seeing now, we're going to find out that this disease is a little more common than we thought. When the case was announced on Thursday, officials did urge America, don't panic. In fact, let's take a look. Here's what Health and Human Services Secretary Tommy Thompson had to say.
I want to make sure that everybody understands that anthrax is not contagious and is not communicable, which means it is not spread from person to person. If it is caught early enough, it can be prevented and treated with antibiotics. The Centers for Disease Control has a ready supply
Well, that's the good news. It is not contagious person to person, so this man could not have infected another man. But since it is so very difficult to contract, Rick, doesn't that equally make it difficult for terrorists to use it to disseminate as a weapon?
It's not easy to use as a weapon. Some terrorists, you may recall, in Japan years ago actually experimented with using this as a biological terror agent, and they failed repeatedly. It would clog in spray nozzles, or they would use a strain that wasn't deadly enough. It's not something that anyone can just pick up off the shelf and use. But it is considered by bioterrorism experts in this country as probably the #1 threat of all the possible agents that are out there, because with some expertise you could grow large quantities of it, and even if you did it inefficiently from a low-flying airplane, for example, there is the chance of sickening and killing fair numbers of people. And of course, treatment with antibiotics, while effective, is only effective if you get those drugs very soon, and the chances are that you wouldn't do that soon enough.
Quickly, which invites the next question, there is a vaccine out there. In fact, it was given to troops in the Gulf War. I think it's about 93% effective. Since there is a vaccine, why has it been limited to members of the military?
There's very limited quantities of the vaccine. In fact, the one company in this country that makes it has been in trouble with the FDA for the last 3 years, and none of the product that they've been producing can be released yet.
Rick Weiss, Washington Post. Thanks so much, Rick. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Coming up next, Taliban anti-aircraft fire over the Afghan capital of Kabul. What was going on? We'll talk about it when we come back.
These firefighters saved by a guardian angel, their incredible story as MSNBC investigates the miracle of Ladder Company 6, tonight at 10 on MSNBC. You're watching MSNBC.
What Bridgestone learns on the track, we put into our tires. Like the Dueler, engineered to distinctly boost your confidence, on-road or off. The distinction is Bridgestone. Receive a free pair of Olympus Trooper binoculars when you purchase 4 select Bridgestone Dueler tires. Certain conditions apply.
Buying or selling a home? RE/MAX agents lighten that load. Averaging more than 13 years experience, they work the kind of practical magic that sets you free. RE/MAX.
Imagine combining the stain-fighting power of Efferdent and freshening power of Listerine. You'd get Efferdent Plus. It's extra fresh, and nothing gets your dentures cleaner. Efferdent Clean, Listerine Fresh. That's Efferdent Plus.
Hi, I'm Jerry Vale. If you love mob movies, you'll also love Mob Hits Doo-Wop, a collection of 26 songs, the ultimate street corner soundtrack. In my heart I wonder why I love you like I do. Classic harmonies and unforgettable vocals, together in one amazing collection. All the songs you love, now available for the first time on 2 CDs or 2 cassettes.
Order Mob Hits Doo-Wop now by calling 1-800-996-2288 or send check or money order for $21.98 for 2 cassettes or $26.98 for 2 CDs plus shipping to the address below. Rush delivery is available. Mob Hits Doo-Wop is not available in any store, so order now.
How would you like to be able to get any stain off of virtually any surface, guaranteed? Introducing the new Zap Total Restoration Kit. Professional strength restorers, each specially formulated to restore surfaces back like new. Think that ink stain has ruined your expensive Corian countertop? Don't replace it, zap it. Zap even works on impossible stains like hard water and rust. Cleaners only work on surface dirt, but Zap concentrated restorers penetrate deep down, restoring surfaces back like new. Zap is as easy as 1, 2, 3 on tile and grout. Just spray it on, let it sit, and wipe it off. On vinyl and linoleum floors, just spray it on, let it sit, and wipe it off. Hard water stains on glass shower doors, spray it on, let it sit, and wipe it off. Watch as we use Zap on this old brass fixture. In just seconds, it's restored like new. Not even dried-on black permanent marker can stand up to professional strength Zap. Zap Restores are so effective, they're guaranteed to remove any stain from any of these surfaces or your money back.
With the Zap kit, I was able to restore all of the surfaces in my home. If I had to call in a professional, it would have cost over $10,000. I am amazed with the Zap products.
It would cost over $30,000 to replace all the surfaces you've seen restored in this commercial. But why replace it when you can restore it with the Zap Total Restoration Kit, all for only $19.95? Call now and we'll upgrade your kit to include a free sprayer attachment, 2 industrial Zap pads, a free bottle of Zap Colored Grout Restorer, plus a free bottle of Zap Wood Restorer. It's safe for any wood, any finish, even priceless antiques. But that's not all. Call in the next 5 minutes and we'll supersize your entire order. That's 50% more Zap absolutely free. Operators are standing by, so call the toll-free number or send check or money order to Zap Restoration Kit, Box 1234, Northridge, California, 91328. Remember, call in the next 5 minutes to get 50% more Zap absolutely free. Call now.
Tonight at 8 on MSNBC Investigates. America's public enemy number 1. Osama bin Laden, the real story of how a billionaire's son became the most hunted man in the world. MSNBC Investigates Bin Laden's Trail of Terror, tonight at 8 on MSNBC.
A streak of smoke in the skies above Kabul, the Afghan capital, as anti-aircraft guns opened fire on it from the Taliban militia and its troops today. A defense ministry in Afghanistan saying the army was trying to shoot down the unidentified aircraft. It could have been an unmanned surveillance drone. At least that is the word from Arab television Al Jazeera. The firing was very intense for about 15 minutes from the anti-aircraft batteries that are placed around the city of Kabul. The plane apparently disappeared in the sky. It was not shot down. Also, NBC News has learned that a Titan rocket launched yesterday from Vandenberg Air Force Base was carrying the CIA's most advanced spy satellite. That would mean the CIA now has 6 imaging satellites in orbit for the very first time. And the Washington Post is reporting this morning that U.S. officials may never learn the true identities of 4 of the September 11th hijackers. Authorities believe the men were using false or stolen identities. Even though the September 11th attacks came from the skies, there are worries about another attack that could come from the seas. NBC's Ginny Ohm reports on how the Coast Guard is increasing security of our waterways, and we're going to have that report in just a moment. Also want to give you a heads up, a programming note. We're going to carry live President George W. Bush's radio address today. That begins at 10:06 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:06 Pacific Time, and again, live on MSNBC. Here now is Ginny Ohm's report.
On the day of the terrorist attacks, the U.S. Coast Guard mobilized to seal off harbors all across the country, especially in New York. Just as airplanes were grounded, all vessel movement came to a halt. Although commercial ships have since resumed their day-to-day activities, there are significant new security measures now in place. In fact, the Coast Guard has called up more than 2,000 reservists to maintain the heightened security on all U.S. waterways.
And the fact that the ship now has to provide certain documentation that was never provided before, such as a crew list, certified crew list and passenger list that the Coast Guard must see, the last 3 ports of call that the ship was in, okay, and it must have a berthing area, in other words, a dock that it has to go to, or the ship has to contact the vessel traffic system and state that it's looking for an anchorage, and then the Coast Guard provides a spot that it has to anchor. Normally a ship would have tugboats near it and, you know, waiting for it to berth. Now there has to be 2 tugs alongside, one on each side of the ship, guiding the ship in case the ship decides to deviate from its course.
Besides boarding and thoroughly inspecting each commercial vessel entering New York Harbor, the Coast Guard has also been directly involved with efforts at Ground Zero. The strike force is overseeing the decontamination of all workers and trucks as they leave the ruins of the World Trade Center. There are 18 stations set up. Everyone and everything that has come into contact with environmental hazards has to be carefully rinsed off. The Coast Guard's National Strike Force came about after the Exxon Valdez oil disaster. Since then, it's been involved in everything from oil spills, hurricanes, and now the cleanup effort at Ground Zero. Jeannie Ohm, NBC News.
We're going to pause, take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the latest in the activity that took place over the skies of Kabul, the Afghan capital, today, and we'll also have a live report from Islamabad, Pakistan. Don't go away, lots ahead.
America is getting back to work. But now we have a bigger job to do. We have to work a little harder, stand a little taller, be a little stronger in our resolve to show the world that nothing can destroy the foundations of freedom. Together, we have the strength to get the job done.
If you want to laugh, get ready for the laugh fest of a lifetime. Introducing the Dean Martin Celebrity Roast, now available on home video.
What a night! Who are we honoring?
You'll see rare appearances by more than 100 of the most celebrated entertainers of all time. Frank Sinatra, Lucille Ball, Sammy Davis Jr., Muhammad Ali, and many, many more.
He kept promising he'd marry me. For years, I've had a hope chest.
I've seen your chest. There ain't no hope. Frank's hobby was a most interesting one. He was an amateur gynecologist. Wait a minute.
Call now, and you'll rediscover those classic days of the Rat Pack and Cool Cat Vegas style with the legendary Frank Sinatra Roast. A full 100 minutes of non-stop entertainment, packed with jokes and laughter, all for just $19.95. Keep your Frank Sinatra Roast. Then, about once every other month, we'll send you 2 new videos to add to your collection for the same low price. You can return any roast for a complete refund. There's no minimum to buy, and you can cancel at any time. And when you order in the next 5 minutes, we'll slash the price in half, making this full-length video just $9.95.
How sweet it is. I understand that Frank is going to Rome. He's going to speak to the Pope. He wants the Pope to make him a cardinal. And that way we'll only have to kiss his ring.
Call now and get the Frank Sinatra Roast, a full 100 minutes of joke-packed entertainment at the rock-bottom price of just $9.95. Now that's a steal. But this offer is limited, so don't wait. Make that call right now.
One of the Earth's most dangerous places, Afghanistan, a special National Geographic Explorer, premiering Sunday at 8 on MSNBC.
Good morning. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of America on Alert. I'm Greg Jarrett. 9 a.m. here on the East, 6 a.m. out west, and 6 p.m. in Pakistan. And we'll go there live in just a moment. But quickly, here are the latest developments. Taliban anti-aircraft batteries opened fire on at least one plane, maybe 2, flying over Kabul this morning. And they also reportedly fired at least one surface-to-air missile. No word yet on the origin or the type of the aircraft, but Al Jazeera television reports it was, quote, a remote controlled plane. In the meantime, the first of roughly 1,000 U.S. troops from the 10th Mountain Division have begun arriving in Uzbekistan. The Uzbek president has allowed the U.S.-led coalition limited use of one of the country's air bases there. British Prime Minister Tony Blair heading back to London after a 3-nation trip to drum up support for the anti-terror coalition. Before leaving India, Mr. Blair said the Taliban will become, quote, the enemy if they don't turn over Osama bin Laden. Now for the latest on our top story this hour, the Taliban firing at an aircraft apparently over the Afghan capital of Kabul. Here's MSNBC.com's Preston Mendenhall, who joins us live in Islamabad. Preston, good evening there. What have you learned about what happened a short time ago in Kabul?
Well, Greg, it was a couple hours ago in Kabul. It was in the broad daylight, about the same time here. We're just a half an hour ahead of Kabul. Clear blue skies. Reports that the Taliban opened fire for at least 15 minutes, anti-aircraft fire at an object. Some reports saying it was a plane, 2 planes, possibly in the sky over the Afghan capital. Al Jazeera Television, the 24-hour Arab language TV channel, showing live pictures at one point of a plane, what looks like to be a plane, a silver or white object going slowly across the skies in Kabul. One would think that this plane was traveling at quite a slow speed. We see that the cameraman had time to actually position his camera, get a live shot up, and catch the plane going across the sky for at least 30 or 40 seconds, and also possibly a plume of some kind going up toward this craft flying overhead. The Taliban so far has said in a statement from the Defense Ministry that they were firing at planes flying over Kabul. One would think by the description and look of this slow-flying plane that it could be a drone. However, there's no confirmation on what country this craft came from. The Pentagon, the United States, keeping mum on the situation right now, although it has been said in recent days that the U.S. is conducting these kind of missions over Afghanistan, preparing for a potential strike against the Taliban. Greg?
Given what you've learned about the plane over Kabul, and given the fact that we frequently use what's known as a Predator, it's an unmanned surveillance drone, it's a medium altitude, long endurance unmanned aerial vehicle system, and our viewers can take a look at a picture there. There you see it's got a range of about 500 plus miles. Speed is really unknown. But we were talking a short time ago to Keith Miller, who said, look, he's seen plenty of them in that region of the world, and they're incredibly slow flying because they want to take as accurate a picture as they can. Given all of that, are you beginning to determine now that that may have been accurate, that Al Jazeera report, that this is a remote-controlled plane?
Well, it does look fairly accurate. Looking at something flying that slow across the skies of Kabul, first of all, looking at anything flying over the skies of Kabul, let alone Afghanistan, is something noteworthy these days. The Taliban has closed its airspace, closed out Afghanistan's airspace itself, and that would be to higher flying commercial jets. But the United Nations and the UN restrictions and sanctions against Afghanistan have basically grounded most aircraft over the entire country, at least outside of the country, internationally certainly, and also inside the country. The state airline Ariana is in a horrible condition. There are only a few flying planes. So to see any kind of craft flying over Kabul would indicate that it is something extraordinary and possibly somebody trying to look down and see what the Taliban is doing. Obviously, the Taliban was, their nerves there are very much frayed. As soon as they saw this thing come overhead, they fired at it, as I said, for about 15 minutes. Reportedly that there were thousands of people who went into the streets to see this spectacle and the plane pass overhead, and certainly it did take a long time to cross the capital. The capital itself is located wedged in a valley, the crossing of several valleys. It's only about 3 or 4 miles across for the entire city, so the plane did have a nice long, slow flight over there, judging by the footage that we're seeing in this Al Jazeera video that has been aired. Greg?
Yeah, given the speed and the altitude and the time of day, quite honestly, daylight, makes sense that it might be, one could reasonably conclude, the possibility here of a surveillance drone. Preston Mendenhall in Islamabad, thanks very much. We have correspondents covering the latest developments on the domestic front. Right now, let's turn to NBC's John Palmer, who's standing by live at the White House. And John, I take it, and Nora O'Donnell's at the Pentagon as well. John, I take it, let's begin with you, that the White House will not comment on these kinds of operations.
Right, indeed, Greg. Mum has been the word here this morning. They say, of course, we have surveillance aircraft in the area, but we cannot comment at all about a possible military operation. And that's pretty much going to be the word from the White House and much also from the Pentagon in the days to come as these various operations take place. But again, this morning, they will not say whether or not that it was an American aircraft, but they concede certainly there are manned and unmanned surveillance aircraft in the area and operated by American officials and American pilots. The president this morning is up at Camp David, where he got his national security briefing. He's then going to chair a teleconference of his top national security aides. Vice President Cheney will take part here at the White House. He's here in the Situation Room, and they will connect also the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, who arrived back in Washington early this morning after traveling in, 3 days in 5 countries, including a visit to Uzbekistan. Afghanistan to seal the deal for using various facilities in the Persian Gulf and in the countries surrounding Afghanistan for possible military action. And again, the news and the pressure is mounting on both the Taliban and Osama bin Laden.
John Palmer, live at the White House.
As President Bush headed off to Camp David for the weekend, White House officials said good progress is being made on the military, diplomatic, and economic fronts as the campaign against world terrorism takes shape. An FBI search warrant reveals that Mohammed Atta's rented car, found near the Portland, Maine airport on September 11th, turned up maps of Boston, a parking receipt, hair, and other items tied to the suspected leader of the hijackers. And NBC News has learned that one day before the attacks, the hijackers transferred money to the Middle East, $5,215 from a Boston airport foreign exchange booth. 3 money transfers on September 8th from this Maryland supermarket, each $5,000 in cash. The money went to a man who has now vanished in the United Arab Emirates, possibly unused funds from planning the attacks, characteristic of bin Laden. On the diplomatic front, President Bush won the support of Eduard Shevardnadze, president of Georgia, the former Soviet republic, who served as Soviet foreign minister in the midst of Moscow's fruitless and bloody war with Afghanistan in the 1980s. White House officials say the United States has gotten good cooperation from countries around the world in freezing the financial assets of terrorist organizations. On the home front, Mr. Bush urged Congress to act quickly to pass his economic stimulus package.
And in order to stimulate the economy, Congress doesn't need to spend any more money. What they need to do is to cut taxes.
And the president is going to deliver his traditional Saturday morning radio broadcast about an hour from now, and he's expected to warn the Taliban that time indeed is running out. Greg?
John Palmer, live at the White House. John, thanks very much. Let's turn now to NBC's Nora O'Donnell, who joins us live from the Pentagon there. And Nora, I imagine as well at your venue, they're not talking about whether this was a surveillance plane that was shot at a couple of hours ago over the Afghan capital of Kabul.
That's right. Good morning, Greg. There is no comment from the Pentagon this morning about those reports coming out of Afghanistan that anti-aircraft Taliban forces had fired at a low-flying aircraft. However, as we have noted, it is not unusual that there would be surveillance or reconnaissance flights flying over Afghanistan. In fact, the Secretary of Defense over a week ago confirmed that there had been a plane shot down, such a Predator-type plane. So we know that such reconnaissance and surveillance flights are being flown over Afghanistan, but no confirmation from the Pentagon about this particular incident. It is somewhat of an ominous sign, given that the humanitarian food drops are expected to begin this weekend. But what we've heard from the Pentagon is that with those humanitarian food drops, they will be escorted by U.S. fighter jets that will be prepared to strike against any anti-aircraft Taliban forces that may endanger American planes. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld flew back to American soil today after a coalition-building trip that will send the first known U.S. troops to the region. Uzbekistan has granted the U.S. rights to use just one airbase for military operations, but only for humanitarian aid and search and rescue teams. Military officials say that cargo planes arrived at an airbase in Uzbekistan last night, carrying troops and equipment from the 10th Army Mountain Division. Sources tell NBC News the Bush administration has designed a bombing campaign to target the Taliban's military headquarters, training camps, and air defenses. At Vandenberg Air Force Base, the U.S. launched a spy satellite on Friday. The U.S. now has 6 satellites in orbit that can transfer real-time intelligence to any ground forces stationed in Afghanistan, an unprecedented tool.
They can actually get the images downloaded to them on their laptop computers. They can see what's on the other side of the hill, whether there are troops coming up to ambush them.
And sources say that almost all of the air and ground forces are now in place, ready to strike Afghanistan. All they need now is some good hard intelligence on just where Osama bin Laden is. Greg?
NBC's Nora O'Donnell live at the Pentagon. Thanks very much. To repeat our breaking news story, a couple of hours ago, Taliban militia unleashed anti-aircraft batteries for roughly 15 minutes over the Kabul capital of Afghanistan, and there you saw a moment ago a streak in the sky. That apparently represents a plane, and it may have been an unmanned remote-controlled surveillance plane. What kind of a plane would that have been? How does it work? We're going to talk to our MSNBC military analyst Dan Gray about that in just a moment when our coverage of America on Alert continues. Don't go away.
This country to prevent terrorists from succeeding again.
The real concern in Egypt is that of a backlash.
NATO has made an unprecedented decision.
The Taliban took to the streets in Kandahar, their main city.
The Pakistan border is a very hostile area.
The Iranians look to the east and wonder what is going to happen next.
It offers 4 tons of hauling capacity. Has 3 rows of seating. And most amazingly, is quite easy to carry. Announcing 0% financing on every single 2001 Lincoln, low lease rates, and Lincoln will even make your first payment. Navigator from Lincoln.
Oh, hey, Mr. Jones. Hi, Tony. Are you working late tonight?
Yeah, I'm applying for a new home loan to refinance my house.
Are you talking to ditech.com?
Yeah, I'm online with them right now.
Want to cash out some of your equity or consolidate bills? You may be able to refinance now to a low fixed rate with 0 points.
Well, I'm all pre-approved. Really? Wow, that's great, Mr. Jones.
Apply online or call now, 1-800-71-FIXED.
Painting a room is easy. All the work is in the edging, and the edges are everywhere. Meet EdgeMaster, the self-guided rolling edger. With EdgeMaster, you can paint every edge effortlessly because EdgeMaster's beveled edge self-guides as you paint. Just load the roller, flip the bevel in place, and EdgeMaster guides itself to paint door and window moldings, light switches, thermostats, and walls and ceilings. Straight edge or round, EdgeMaster does it all. With the EdgeMaster, you'll get a precision edge every time. We guarantee you can paint any room in 1 hour or we'll buy it back. Use it once and you'll never use anything else again. Through this special offer, we'll send you the EdgeMaster, 2 EdgeMaster rollers, painting guide, and tray for only $19.99. Plus, call right now and we'll triple the number of rollers. A $20 value free. You'll get the entire EdgeMaster painting system and 6 rollers, a $40 value, all for just $19.99. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-694-9797. That's 1-800-694-9797. So call 1-800-694-9797 and order today.
And the search continues at Ground Zero in Lower Manhattan. Not quite 5,000 still on the missing list there. We'll update that for you very, very shortly. But we're getting some word out of Bulgaria today. What happened about 48 hours ago on Thursday, some breaking news here. A gunman was arrested just ahead of the recent NATO enlargement, a one-day summit there in Bulgaria on Thursday. And apparently the man whose identity was not disclosed was arrested. He had a Scorpion automatic gun with a silencer on it. Now, the presidents of 8 European and Baltic countries aspiring to become partners of NATO were meeting there for a one-day summit on Friday. And they were meeting, and some of them were staying at the Hilton Hotel in Sofia, Bulgaria. That is where the man with a Scorpion automatic and a silencer was arrested. We're trying to get more details now. In the meantime, some other developments to report to you this hour in the Afghan capital of Kabul this morning. Taliban forces aimed at a brief sustained volley of anti-aircraft fire at least one unidentified plane flying over the city. Now, Al Jazeera television is reporting that the aircraft was a, quote, remote-controlled plane. More on that in a moment. The U.S. could begin airdrops of food and other aid to Afghanistan's millions of refugees as early as today. Those flights reportedly will be escorted by U.S. fighter jets. And President Bush is proposing $60 billion in tax cuts to kickstart the U.S. economy. That's the same amount Congress has pledged to help the struggling airline industry rebuild New York and assist workers who were laid off. Well, let's talk about what happened a couple of hours ago over Kabul as Taliban forces opened fire with their anti-aircraft artillery at what may have been a surveillance plane. Joining me now to take a further look at those reports, our MSNBC military analyst Dan Garay. Now, Dan, we know that we are flying surveillance planes over the territory of Afghanistan. And we know that we use what are referred to as predator planes. Explain what those are.
Well, the Predator is a particular type of unmanned aerial vehicle called a UAV. It has no pilot in it. We have a picture here of it. It really operates on an automatic flight plan, although you can have somebody guide it. Flies very slowly at about a medium altitude, 20,000 feet height, and its purpose is to go over dangerous territory and take pictures of what's on the ground and send those pictures back to base where they can be used for intelligence or targeting.
There is another, in fact, very sophisticated plane called the Global Hawk. Tell us about that one.
Well, the Predator is only the first of what is a revolution of these kind of planes. Global Hawk is the next thing to come. This is a unmanned vehicle also. We flew one of these all the way from the United States to Australia, unmanned. Just put the little chip in the computer, send it down. This can fly at much higher altitude where it's safer, for longer periods of time, and go a longer distance. So you could sail this from the United States if you really wanted to, over Afghanistan, take pictures, and come home again.
Now, why are they unmanned? I mean, logic tells me, look, if they're fairly low flying and slow flying, they're sitting ducks for anti-aircraft batteries. So let's make them unmanned.
That's exactly the right answer, because I can send these kind of planes into hostile territory, into danger. If I lose one, it's an expense. These are actually very cheap compared to a real manned fighter plane. No pilot, so I don't have to worry about lives lost or rescue requirements. I'll lose them, I'll use them like ammunition.
Let me throw a possible scenario at you and get your reaction to it. I haven't talked to you about this before, but let's assume we want good surveillance of the terrorist camps. They're not in Kabul. But if we want to know where the anti-aircraft batteries are located, might we send up a surveillance drone as a decoy so we can zero in on the location of those batteries?
Well, in fact, that's something we could do. One of the things we've done, we did it during the Kosovo campaign, is we brought these Predators down below the clouds where they were in danger and kept our aircraft above the clouds where they were safe, and the Predator targeted particular sites, and then the aircraft would launch a missile that the Predator would guide through to the target.
So that's a possibility of what might have been going on a couple of hours ago over the skies of Kabul.
Well, to the extent that there were two aircraft alleged, one of them a slow-flying Predator, one of them a faster aircraft, you could have seen that combination, maybe a test run of what's to come soon.
What about the Taliban? What sort of planes, warplanes, do they have?
Well, the Taliban has almost, if you call it, a tinker toy kind of Air Force. Right. These are old. We have a picture here of a MiG-21. These are old Russian aircraft. I mean, the technology is early 1960s. Right. This was probably built in the 1980s. It's relatively slow. It's short range. It doesn't have the kind of aircraft ceiling to go up against things like the Global Hawk. There are only a few of them that are operational, if any. This is 3 generations behind what the United States has.
Yeah. Now, we saw the videotape this morning of the streak across the sky. Maybe we can put it up again. We had it a moment ago. And the Taliban forces, apparently, there it is, firing up in the sky. What kind of anti-aircraft weapons do they have, and are they any good at operating them?
What you're talking about is really mostly light stuff. Heavy machine guns, 20 and 30 millimeter cannons. They're good to maybe 5,000 feet at most. Here's a great picture of one. You're talking about really a machine gun. This is age-old technology. This stuff goes back to World War II. There's no guidance to it. So in a sense of you've got to put an eyeball on the target and try and hope that you can actually hit something. When you're talking about even a slow-flying aircraft at 20,000 feet, the ability to hit it with something like this is virtually nil. You really need a missile, and the trouble is there are only a few missiles in the Taliban arsenal, if at all, unlikely to have any effect. This is something which is sort of, you can see it's about a 30 millimeter cannon shell there. This will be very nice against a very low, this is a helicopter weapon. This is for something that's going in at 5,000 feet, 3,000 feet, well below where the even the Predator flies, much less where our fighter planes and bombers are going to fly.
And I believe this is the NBC News exclusive videotape that we've obtained from a source inside Afghanistan. It was apparently smuggled out to us. So we're able to take a closer look at some of their capabilities there. Is their strong point their tactical capabilities?
Well, the strong point is, this is a great picture. I mean, this is the Afghan fighter that goes back against the British. It goes back to 200 years. The individual fighter with an old gun, that gun looks like it could be almost 100 years old. It's like an old Mauser from the beginning of the century. Small groups of these individuals in the mountains sniping. That's the Afghan tradition. That's what the Afghans do well. When it comes to modern warfare, I mean, even the Russians could hold them at bay in modern warfare, and the Afghans haven't seen anything like what the United States and the coalition can deliver.
Quick question. We're approaching winter very quickly in a couple of weeks there. That inures to their benefit, does it not?
In some respects, because winter creates problems for flying. You'll have low cloud cover, bad weather, hard to find targets. One of the reasons that we may see operations start in the next few days or week is because we may want to do some activity before winter sets in and the country is essentially, as they say, socked in. You can't fly very well at all for a period of months, potentially.
All right. NBC military analyst Dan Gray, always great to have you. Very informative. We appreciate it. By the way, the military information that we give you has either been cleared through the Pentagon or it is unclassified information. We're going to pause, take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the latest on what happened in Kabul today, and looking ahead to, we'll have an update on Ground Zero, Lower Manhattan. Don't go away.
You're watching MSNBC.
Who is this? We have your daughter. The #1 movie in America is Don't Get Her Back. Say
You want what they want.
a word. Michael Douglas. Don't say a word.
I'll never tell.
Rated R. Now playing only in theaters.
How long does she have to wait for relief when she's miserable with a cold? As fast as you can open the Vapor Rub, she can feel like she's breathing again. No pill or syrup can give her that. Vapor Rub, the quick Vicks.
How did you sleep?
Fantastic. My back and neck feel great.
And you didn't snore. What's your secret?
Introducing the Contour Secret, an amazing new discovery that will give you the best night's sleep of your life, guaranteed. Look, ordinary pillows sag, but the Contour Secret has a secret inner core that supports and aligns your spine. It never goes flat, while its outer layer is made of soft fiber, the most comfortable sleep surface in the world. Tense, achy muscles relax and rejuvenate. You'll wake up totally refreshed. In fact, this survey proves you'll sleep better and toss and turn less with the Contour Secret than any of these competitive pillows.
My husband's snoring used to keep me up all night. Now with the Contour Secret, we both get a great night's sleep.
Before, I used to wake up as tired as when I went to bed. But now with the Contour Secret, I get up refreshed, ready for the day.
Of all the pillows I've tried, Contour Secret is the only one that helps me sleep through the night and wake up without pain in the morning.
Beware, too soft causes headaches and snoring. Too firm causes tossing and turning. Only the Contour Secret combines both. Soft, breathable comfort with firm inner support. And now on this exclusive TV offer, it can be yours for only $19.95. We guarantee you the best night's sleep of your life or your money back. But wait, call now and get this soft quilted protective cover free. But that's not all. Call within the next 10 minutes and get the Contour Lumbar Support, a $20 value free. Look, it supports the natural curve of your spine. Aches and pains in your lower back melt away. Imagine you get the Contour Secret quilted cover and the lumbar support, a $50 value over only $19.95.
And how did you sleep?
Better than ever. No aches, no pains. I've got my own secret.
Not available in stores. Order today.
Call 1-800-393-7744 to order. That's 1-800-393-7744. One last time, that number is 1-800-393-7744.
Let's take a look at the videotape we have obtained over the last hour of what happened in the skies over Kabul a couple of hours ago. There you see what appears to be the smoke from a streaking aircraft, and then anti-aircraft guns opened fire on at least one plane, maybe two, over the Afghan capital. Firing was intense for about 15 minutes from the anti-aircraft batteries around the city. Apparently, the plane disappeared in the sky without being brought down, and Al Jazeera Arab television is reporting it was a remote-controlled plane. It could possibly have been an American surveillance plane. We do not know. The White House, the Pentagon, neither of which are commenting on operations there. Also, another breaking news story we told you about moments ago. We're just now learning what happened on Thursday evening. A gunman was arrested just ahead of the recent NATO enlargement summit that was being held On Friday in Bulgaria, the man carried a Scorpion automatic gun with a silencer on it. He was arrested. A policeman was seriously wounded in the encounter. Now, this is a NATO enlargement summit in which Eastern European countries and Baltic countries are aspiring to join NATO. Those countries are Bulgaria, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Romania, Macedonia, Albania, Croatia, Slovenia, and Slovakia. And we are learning from a Bulgarian government official that 4 of those individuals representing the countries were possible targets. That according to a senior administration official in the Bulgarian government. A possible assassination attempt has been foiled there. We'll continue to follow that, and our global coverage continues. Live reports from Egypt and Afghanistan in a moment.
National Geographic and MSNBC take you to one of the Earth's most dangerous places.
Across the river to what has been no man's land for quite a long time.
Afghanistan. Barren. Remote. Hostile.
If you go on foot, they'll shoot you. The Taliban will shoot you.
Cross the border into the Forbidden Zone, where time has stood still for thousands of years, and waging war has become a way of life. As the U.S. military buildup in the region continues, see firsthand why Afghanistan may be the toughest battlefield in the world. National Geographic Explorer, 16 years experience, 109 Emmys. Now right here, only on MSNBC, premiering Sunday night at 8.
28. 29. 30. 30.
Now at Red Lobster, enjoy 30 mouth-watering shrimp for just $9.99. Mix and match tangy lemon pepper shrimp, delicious shrimp pasta, savory scampi, fried and more. Red Lobster, go overboard.
I gotta let go. Gotta leave this thing behind now that I found something new inside. Watch me now as I'm leaving you behind me. Realize it's time to let me see. Like the bird, I feel the wind blow. I know when it's time to go.
Elton John, Songs from the West Coast, the critically acclaimed new album. Details magazine calls it the best Elton John album to come along in years. Rolling Stone says 4 stars, Elton's return to the sound that defined the 70s. Interview magazine proclaims great singer, great songs. Call the number on your screen to order Elton John's Songs from the West Coast and also receive a free Elton John poster with paid order, or send check or money order plus shipping and handling to the address shown. Rush delivery available.
Tonight at 8 on MSNBC Investigates. America's public enemy number 1, Osama bin Laden. Rich, smart, dangerous. Once supported by the CIA, now threatening a holy war against the U.S. The real story of how a billionaire's son became the most hunted man in the world. MSNBC Investigates. Bin Laden's Trail of Terror. Tonight at 8 on MSNBC.
Half past the hour on a busy Saturday morning. Good morning to you. Let's quickly get you caught up on the latest developments this hour. Taliban anti-aircraft batteries opened fire on at least 1 plane, maybe 2, flying over Kabul this morning. They also reportedly fired at least 1 surface-to-air missile. No word yet on the origin or the type of the aircraft, but Arab television Al Jazeera is reporting it was a remote-controlled plane. In the meantime, the first of roughly 1,000 U.S. troops from the 10th Mountain Division have begun arriving in Uzbekistan. The Uzbek president has allowed the U.S.-led coalition limited use of one of the country's air bases. And British Prime Minister Tony Blair is now heading back to London after a 3-nation trip to drum up support for the anti-terror coalition. Before leaving India, Mr. Blair said the Taliban will become, quote, the enemy if they do not turn over Osama bin Laden. More now on our top story, the Taliban firing anti-aircraft